My name is Cristian. I'm a developer. Yeah, I tried to study for doing comics, and I made a mistake of studying oil painting. Don't do it. But anyway, so on the 16th, 2 days from here, so one day in some hours, is going to be the Global Accessibility Awareness Day. So if you like what we are going to talk, or if you want to mention something about accessibility, please check them, check the foundation, use the hashtag GAAD, and be aware of it. So mostly anything you need to know about me is on that QR. I will show it again in a bigger size in the future. But let me ask you. You have to know your audience, right? So how many of you have tried Encounter Dinosaurs experience on the Vision Pro, right? It's like and if you didn't try it, at least you know about it, right? So it's like this experience, immersive experience. So now how many of you know that it has some accessibility settings that you can have the experience, if you have any issues? So let me show you a capture of that. It's 2 minutes. I promise it's worth it. So maybe a bit of context, I'm using pointer control. So basically instead of my eyes, I'm using this depth array to activate the controls. And once activated, I activated the captions and also the options. It's a panel on the bottom left that is going to give you action points when you get to the point of the story that you can select how to act with the beast.
It flies off. A wall-sized portal opens. The butterfly flies through into a barren, rocky landscape under a dark, cloudy sky. In the distance, lightning flashes. The butterfly lands near a crevice on the right side. A baby isosaur pokes its head out of the crevice. The long-necked brown dinosaur is the size of a small dog. It climbs awkwardly out of the crevice. The isosaur wags its long tail as it approaches the butterfly. The insect flies away. The adorable reptile turns to look at you. The butterfly flutters to a large rat at the portal's edge. The small reptile follows eagerly. The butterfly flaps away from the area. The isosaur notices you and edges to the tip of the rock. It looks expectantly at you.
Sorry, there you can select if you want to be friendly or hostile with the dinosaur. That brings outcomes. This is the decision moments in the story that if you don't use these settings, is related to how aggressive you are with the animals. Reptiles, they say. I'm not sure if they are reptiles.
It tumbles off the rock and scrambles into the crevice. From the left, a massive red rhinosaur with taloned feet descends the hill. This predatory dinosaur, its mouth large enough to swallow the isosaur whole, searches the crevice. And then it spots you. It stops toward you on 2 thick legs. It pokes its scaly head into your space. It snaps at you.
So, yeah, I show it as a sample before anything, because I believe this is one of the complex experiences to make accessible, how to transmit the story. And also it's interesting, there is a lot of information I didn't have when I tried for 100 times. So anyways, I'm trying to make this talk a bit better than before, so that means like shorter and better. So I'm going to give another way what it means, accessible spatial computing. What is this moment? Why is it interesting? And in general, some general questions. I'm going to talk about the accessibility features itself of the device, what is inside of it. I'm going to talk about sensors and also paradigms, and what it really means being able to control this device with multiple ways. I'm going to talk about patterns that we need to address if we want to make accessible or immersive experiences. And then, if everything goes well, I'm going to do a live demo. We are still on time, so this is great. So one of the main questions I have when I show the Vision Pro, when I discuss with people about Vision Pro, is it's not the price, right? It's like, what is this for? What is the point? Why we have this Vision Pro? And the thing is, at the beginning, I was like really kind of engaged in the conversations. I tried to say, like, yeah, what is a computer for, right? If you can answer what is a computer for and how you can make a computer better, maybe we can answer, what is this wearable computer for, right? But with the time, I find out that the real question is that the killer feature of the Vision Pro is being able to crack the Enigma machine. And this is a joke, right? It's something that you cannot localize, but I try, right? I try my best. So basically, a computer can do computing, right? So this is why it's the killer feature of a computer that is a wearable device. Anyways, more serious. So 2010, Tim Cook in a university speech said basically this, that people with disabilities are frequently left in the shadows. So that means like when you have a breakthrough, usually you go really fast, right? And you don't take in consideration all the segments. And remember the date, right? It's important. I like this quote, and I think it's meaningful in the sense like it points, like a reality that we have to kind of acknowledge and act with it. So, to me, when we talk about the Vision Pro, let me bring it here. So I will show it. When I have this device at hand, and when I use it, right, it's really intrigues me. What is the reason that created this device? I really want to do this process of like a reverse engineering, the decisions that were made during a decade or more to get to this device, right? Let me show it here, like more shiny, beautiful, right? And yeah, I mean, if you flip, the typical design thinking process for product design, and you get to think, that the center of any type of creation is related to empathy, and you go to every step necessary to address that empathy to a real product. I think that requires a framework and a mindset that is really useful, to be used, to take decisions. So when I make a product, can I use this framework, right? So I let that there. And part of this production and part of these 10 years, timeline I usually show, it's only frameworks and software. This is what basically happened in the last 10 years, and the amount of investment and the kind of like a step over step, like how calculated and everything was coordinated for a goal, which is to be empathetic, right? To have a device that can be used for as many people as possible. And in fact, one of the studies of research that sparked my interest was making smartphone augmented reality apps accessible. I will share the links later. It's already in Slack if you want. If you want, by the way, if you want the slides you want to follow along, it's on the general channel. You can go there, the links, the comments, and everything, right? I will share I will transfer later. So this research for me was really interesting because at the time we were relatively keen on augmented reality apps in the phone, and my question was, when I started to do AR, it's like, what is this for, right? This is a gimmick or what? Can I put a box here? But what else can I do, right? I had the same trouble, the same wondering of what to do with this, right? So to me, this research proved that basically it's not only that you can make augmented reality experiences accessible, that instead the technology required to create something that is immersive and convincing and magical requires a technological development that basically is, or at least as a side effect, maybe not intended, it becomes a really good assistive technology. So you need all these type of sensors, all this type of context awareness, all this type of computer vision algorithms, etc., etc. If you see here, you have spatial sound rendering, you have like all the computer vision. It's like many interesting stuff that went to this goal. In fact, when was released the last year, The claim was that this device has the largest accessibility features, the biggest list that they ever has been shipped in a first iteration product from Apple. And when I heard that, I was wondering, like, yeah, what that means, right? What it means, like, like a biggest. What is that? It's a number. So I went and I count them. Yeah, there is around like a 170 as of visionOS 1.2 combination. Some of them are different settings of different parts or level of the settings. Sorry. And this is the distribution, basically. So you can see that also on the axis, is the interest or where is the effort put. So 170 it still was like, yeah, is that much? I didn't have any reference. So I compare to the MetaQuest 3. And MetaQuest 3 has like a less in comparison, even in some areas doesn't have it. But it's an unfair comparison, right? So I said like maybe to one of the first generations of Apple devices, right? So I compared to the first iPhone, and the first iPhone didn't have any accessibility feature at all, right? So we are talking like until the iPhone 3GS, we didn't have like a dedicated settings on the iPhone, which is really interesting if you think about, because that means like the progress that can be in the time, in this time frame, right? Between like a 0 to 3GS and 3GS to now, right? It means like what can be if this device is at this level and gets, in 4 years, what is going to be. So it's promising. Also, it's interesting, this podcast, you should see it, like when it was launched, how it's meaningful to the blind community. Really, really interesting. So there is the QR. And then put options. So a lot of conversation about like especially now, right, with LLMs, like is the text input, something like from the past is more efficient. Sometimes has a place, this discussion about IDs versus terminal. But anyway, so I want to refer like the different type of interaction with it and different type of input. So we have the text and the mouse, right? We have the multi-touch and basically the direct interaction. We pass from something like a proxy, a piece of hardware that we use to control the pointer to directly hint or intent. And lately we have this emerging, which I recommend to pay attention about, like a nearby interactions. So how two devices can interact in a space, in a context. And this comes also with some recommendations on the human interface guidelines, which are really interesting because they are all about like the interactions in the space and context, which applies to the Vision Pro. So I think there is a collision course. So the Vision Pro itself, yeah, you know it probably, but basically it comes with some say more sensors than needed, but basically it's a computer that has the biggest array of sensors and the biggest array of capabilities of understanding your context and your space that we have ever, right? But we don't necessarily are interested on that. We are more interested on this concept, which is like how we do accessible experiences and how we do interaction at the scale of a human. And the thing is, like until now, HCI, or the human-computer interaction, has always focused on the direct and indirect. And indirect is perceived as something from the past, something like you use with a mouse, right? It's like something that you need some extra hardware. And direct, it feels natural and fast, and multi-touch is like my intent is now, I want to do it, I do it, right? I don't want abstraction layers between it. The thing with direct interaction is that basically it's less precise and requires also like you being at the reach and at the scale of your interaction. So basically, with direct interaction, you can interact with things that are in your reach, basically, and your weight. So basically, if you have any problem and you reach or you want to, it becomes like a not so efficient. So indirect interaction, using proxies and abstraction layers, by definition, is more precise and it's also more accessible. It allows you to interact with your environment without being at the reach or without like any capability. This is also like a line this research again. This is not claim. This is research with how the people use assistive technologies. Right? It's really interesting. It's like because assistive technologies, because there is not one solution fits all. It's like basically the way that we are confronting the issue is offering a matrix of options, right? You have like a 170 options, and then you mix and match and combine the options. And this is a reflection of how the people use the technologies on real life, which is basically, I'm never going to find the technology that fits my purpose, or maybe I need it for something else, so I try to make it work for it, or I use them in combination, or I kind of like I copy the text here, I go to the translator to TTS, etc. Right? So people is always kind of switching context and kind of like trying to tinker the technology. Also, this is related to the shortcuts and the desired paths, right? It's like sometimes you don't have to kind of like when you design an interaction, when you create experience, it's like sometimes you are too, I'm too rigid, like this should be done in this way. And sometimes we have to be sensitive and perceive that people can sometimes solve the things in a different way and many times more efficient than you were decided. So that's a concept. So the system, VisionOS, and the accessibility features on the Vision Pro, you don't need to understand this. This is like, but I show it to explain the logic that is behind the decisions. So VisionOS goes from indirect to direct to their own type of interactions at any point, right? You have like this nearby interactions. You can have something like you can look at it and you can pinch, you can go and grab it, you can touch, or you can activate VoiceOver, which changes the way you interact with the device. It's basically indirect, because basically you're using a screen reader. But if you have the need, even inside VoiceOver, to directly interact with something, you can change context. So it's also expected that you can jump between interaction modes, and this is something like I find really novel and powerful. It's more complicated for sure, but it's something like we never witnessed in any other Apple device, at least until now. My presenter note says like take a deep breath. So that means like probably I should drink. But I love this one. So this is my daughter. This is Mañana. Mañana has 6 years. And this was like 3 weeks ago. So we live in Berlin. And for me, I'm not from there. For me, it was new that there is this type of badge, the the seahorse badge, which is basically certification that the kid is not going to drown. So it's something like the kids go to the swimming pool, and they get like a task to do. They have like go underwater, and they have to like swim without aid for 25. It's really complicated. And my daughter was like really on it. She wanted that badge. And one day before ending the course, the teacher calls me and tells me like, yeah, probably be prepared. Your daughter is not going to be ready. Is not going to receive this the next time we did the examination. So do you kind of like a crisis management or whatever. And the thing is like while the teacher was telling me that, my daughter was still in the water and was like, papi, come here, look at this. And she was swimming, but backwards, right? And it was like, oh, and I was like, yes, beautiful. I'm not going to crush you now, but it's beautiful that you enjoy it at least, right? So enjoy it while it lasts. The thing is, at the next day, when the teacher saw that my daughter was showing me that she could do the thing in a different way, she acknowledged, not the teacher, it was her, she acknowledged that it was not a matter of like how it was done, it's a matter that, yeah, if the kid can survive, right, backwards, like or front, I don't care. And she got the badge because of that. And I tell this story because I believe that we should get this spirit of this teacher, right? It's like realizing that it doesn't matter how the people solve things, or like giving or embracing, how the people do the things differently. What is important is how the people accomplish tasks, and we have to work on that. Okay? And for that, I give you this small framework, which is the almost the last part. This is how we recognize the basic spatial interactions. It's a concept that you're going to hear a lot. So usually we focus on the abilities and the axis. We know this, different, Microsoft, Google, everybody has like a different set of axes and documentation related to different abilities. But the thing is, at least my personal story is that if you focus on learning the accessibility features and you focus only on solving like different abilities, you don't get really far. You don't get to resolve the use case at the end of the day. So what is more useful for me is focusing on the task. So what the people want to do, which kind of makes sense, but it's not exactly what you think. So if you imagine all the stuff you can do with spatial computing, all the productivity, all the features that you can do here, and you try to make it accessible, and you start doing something accessible for spatial computing, you at least need to start with intersection of what is the most common things that somebody wants to do on spatial computing. What is the thing that everybody does, right? And this is true for any accessibility implementation of a new interaction. So when we have the multi-touch, we have these 4 years without accessibility because we were figuring out what were the patterns, like a scroll, pinch. So, okay, so this is the patterns that we need to abstract and make an accessibility feature of it. So this is what we call the basic accessible interactions. This is the focus. This is where we have to search and kind of address and bring solutions to that. In the near future, it's going to be a third ring, which is what is happening when you have the collaboration, and you have shared experiences, and this is really exciting, right? So everything that is going to happen on the shared accessibility interactions is so June 10 that basically, yeah. But for now, let's talk about like the entry point, so basic accessible interaction. So research, right? A ton of AR research mainly, and some VR, and basically there are like 5, and you can take it later a photo when I complete, and you can use it as a guide for working on this. So everybody that wants to work on an immersive experience needs to do some task about the relation. So I want to anchor, I want to know where am I want to restore some space, I want the acoustic ray tracing. So there is some task, sometimes automatic, sometimes not, sometimes requires calibration, but establish a relation between the digital and the physical is something like it's going to happen, and we need to resolve it. Yeah, usually you want to create something once you are in the space and you are anchored. You want to bring your base, you want to put a cube, you want to, I don't know, like whatever is your experience. Once it's everything created, there is an exploration part. I want to be able to know what is around me. It's like how many things or what shape they have. Then maybe I want to manipulate them. It's like the typical transforms. I want to pick it, I want to scale it, I want to do something with it. And finally, once it's, you have all these interactions, usually you have like a nested level of information, right? It's like I want to trigger this specific part of this planet or something in the orbit, and I want to know more information. So basically, if we want to address accessible spatial computing, we need to solve these 5 patterns, right? So for that, I'm going to show a bit what it means to use the Vision Pro in an accessible way. Wish me luck. It's something. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a prototype of placing things on surfaces. So it's going to recognize the space. It's going to give me some spatial sound, which maybe doesn't transmit well here. And then I'm going to do this with voiceover. If everything goes well, I'm going to put the zoom, and I'm going to show you some settings of it. I'm going to try to not talk, because voiceover is going to be over me. And that's it. I mean, I expect to work. And of course, I cannot use the same things at the same time. So. I'm going to try to mirror to the Mac, and I say try because this has a 50-50 chance. Let me know when you see something. Right, so basically the sound also should be there, right? And yeah, so let me go for it, right? So I'm gonna shout, I cannot, but basically look at the screens. It's not so important what I'm saying.
Soon. Selected. Close. Voiceover on. Accessible tasks. Table. Try. Voiceover activate. Accessible tasks. Table. Accessible tasks. Accessible tasks. Table. Accessible tasks. Place. Accessible tasks. Place. 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 Dim. Place. Dim. Button. Accessible. Basic access. Describe pass-through. Selected. Scan. Button. Place. Button. 2 of 3. Accessible. Selected. Place. 2 of 3. Accessible tasks. Accessible tasks. Accessible tasks. Accessible tasks. Selected. Place. 2 of 3. Control center. Describe pass-through requires image descriptions to be enabled in setting. Accessible tasks. Table. Place. Button. Attach the model to a plane at the given location. Actions available. Model placed in table. Model placed in table. Place. Model placed in table. Place.
Sorry? Yes, no problem. So, okay, final. It's muted? It's fine? Okay. So what do? Basically, before going or something like that happens in the development, it's like, okay, we know that we are in version 1, and there is some things that are difficult. One of the things that is difficult for users is that, in general, any assistive technology, it should be error tolerant. You should be able to fail gracefully, or should be able to recover. The Vision Pro, it's not yet there, right? It's really, you can make mistakes much more easier. Your hands has to be like a more precise location. If you see some people using it, they kind of need to recalibrate the position, right, to kind of like go again and use voiceover. So it's not so forgiving, for lack of a better word, and we have to work on that. It should be much more easier to use. And the API is what is expected, right? Take it like a constructive way. It's not there. Custom rotors are kind of broken. Documentation is lacking something temporary, right? So people that make things see these issues as something temporary, and I believe that too. And then there is a bigger issue that is some people really don't have the understanding of a space, and I'm not sure what to do there. So some people that was born blind, for example, they really lack the understanding of depth perception, for example, right? So yeah, we have to work on that. But anyways, what it means to work. I know that many people are frustrated about the radar story and the feedback, etc. But we really need to keep it that way, right? We need to use the APIs and send the feedback. At least in my experience, I don't know if you have been on the labs, engineers are really open and eager to receive information. They really want to know what is broken. There's so much things going on that they are really, they are engaged in answering. So at least my personal experience is not like a dropping things to a pit and never getting an answer, right, or working for free. It's the opposite, right? I feel like we are fixing something and we are cooperating on that. And yeah, it's good. So how much you have to put an effort? So yeah, I use this in the conversation inside my company. It's like when you say like a average person or edge case, basically what you are saying is like what is the limit of what you care or who you care about. So it's an edge case. That means like after the edge case, it doesn't matter. Up to you, right? I believe that is at least a sign, no, that helps you to push your boundaries. So what we can do in general, we need to use the accessibility APIs. There is this onboarding anxiety of like a turning on voiceover and then not knowing how to disable it, right? Like how to turn it off, right? We have to overcome that. We have to use the accessibility APIs, right? One thing I commend always is that if we have time for being obsessed about the smooth of the scroll or the padding or the color of the text, we have time to put a label, an action, a custom router. We have time. This is not about like a priorities assignation of time, right? It's about like we need to overcome the anxiety and we need to know how to test it. And for that, you need to know the technology. So use it. It's the only way. And also, that helps to bring radars. I recommend, personally, focus on the journey, on the user story, more than the features. It's not about, I'm going to put accessibility labels because VoiceOver, the screen reader, can use it. It's more like, can somebody buy a ticket on my app, right? It's like, can I do this flow? And that's much more helpful. And I think it's kind of useful to have in mind. Yeah, people is strange, right? In a good sense, right? It's like people do the things like in unexpected ways. So you should offer options that they can be combined, and also that you has to have all this good citizen stuff and being able to donate intents, etc. So if you can also include feedback mechanism in your apps, right? Like sometimes we don't know how the people use it, and it's really useful, to know, like, okay, I'm not able to whatever part of your app is not working properly. I believe that we should be keeping sending, and okay, and that's it for me. But I have to show this video, which is 5 minutes, and that's it, and you can forget about this.
Has the most accessibility ever to be included in a first-generation product.
The magnifier app can also change the color of things and change the brightness and the contrast and things like that. These are all features we see in low vision wearable devices.
Replaced.
Yeah, I can completely see it happening because here's the thing. The Iris Vision Live is the cheapest device on this table.
Yeah.
And it's $3,000. That's the standard price. The Iris Vision Inspire here is $4,000. That's more than the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
The E-Sight here,
Yeah.
$6,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, although $3,500 seems like a lot for the Vision Pro, if it can do the low vision wearable style of things, and it has much better screens and a camera than is available in any of these devices, at that point it's
a real disruptor for the low vision market.
Yes.
Well, Apple Vision Pro does for someone with vision low vision.
The first thing I noticed when the headset was capturing things in the real world, I could see things. And I mean, like, I could read the panels.
All right, so I'm just gonna say this off the bat. I can see better through this than my normal naked eye.
Oh, wow.
Because it's so close to my face. No, like everything's like a little bit more enlarged and like clearer. Yo, this is wild. How do I like go about not ever taking these off?
Like 90% of people with blindness, I still see something. Now I'm actually able to see things around me and identify them. And as I continue to look around in this headset, I'm beginning to understand the concept of depth perception for the first time.
Reduce white point, that might be good. I have underdeveloped retinas, photophobia, so we can reduce the intensity of bright colors. Oh. Okay, so I'm testing out Zoom right now. Let me try to explain this best I can. It brings up a window over the application, and that window does follow you. It stays in a static point. The Zoom is always following you, but what I'm noticing too, which is my finger tracking, I'm able to grab the corners of the Zoom and in
tracking and eye control. I'm not able to use that, and when I try, the little pointer just jumps and darts all over the place, and it's absolutely crazy and drives me nuts. I can't control how and where my eyes move. They just move around a whole bunch without me even noticing because I have something called nystagmus. Basically, my eyes trying to find something that it can see, but because I'm blind, has a really hard time with that. But I usually turn on pointer control and then select head, and then I can just move my head around, and then the pointer will stay right near the middle and I can actually use it. You can actually also use your wrist or your index finger to control the Vision Pro. Combined with Zoom, I can actually kind of see it, and if I can't, I just turn on VoiceOver and have it read to me.
But speaking of the pass-through mode, one thing to note about this, which is fantastic, is that it's utilizing the two cameras here in the front. This is not a see-through screen. All the electronics are in here, so you cannot see through this piece of glass here. What you are seeing on the inside, the real world that you see, is from these two cameras right here in front. The benefit, though, is having two cameras, you actually get accurate depth perception. This is a problem we run into with a lot of wearables in the assistive technology world. Most of them are utilizing a single camera, and so we lose our depth perception when we look through them. But having the two cameras, we do get accurate depth perception, and there is imperceptible lag. So as you move your hand around, you see it moving in real time. There is no lag, there is no latency. This is fantastic for interacting with the world around you. You want to go out for a walk and enjoy the day, you absolutely can do that with the pass-through mode.
Early on, when I first started using the Apple Vision Pro, I turned on voice control and I was saying tap, 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 and they got super, super repetitive. And so I turned off voice control and I found sound actions, and it's incredible. I'll show you right now. So I can just make with a sound of my mouth, I can do things like to bring up my apps or to close them. With a click of my tongue, or it's called a cluck of my tongue, I can tap on certain things. But one of my favorite things is I could be looking wherever and show my apps and take them away. The pop sound is my favorite.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think it's totally accessible right now?
Millions and millions of people with disabilities that use it and be somewhere where they might never be.
Yeah. What is that? Oh, that's the accessibility. Noah.
Okay, now it's the QA.